What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you back on ESPN, where this will be a 12-team standard mock, picking from that 9th overall selection. Mixing things up a little bit should be interesting, so make sure to tune in. If you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, let us hear it in the comments section, what you think of our roster along with any other questions. And lastly, check us out online at alldaypigskin.com. And while you're there, get yourself a copy of the 2021 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Everything you could want at a great value. Details in the description. But with that being said, let's take a look at this draft. And, we've done a standard mock draft before. Not sure how many more people are still looking at standard drafts, but hey, can't forget about those guys either, since I feel like, that's how we all started out, standard drafts. And for that reason, I want to try and make this as helpful as possible. Our last standard draft, I believe, had an early round selection, like the 2nd overall pick. So it was pretty easy. It was just going like Derrick Henry or Dalvin Cook. But now, 9th overall, things get a little bit more tricky, and you've got some more decisions to make because, normally I'd be smashing the buy button on an Austin Eckler. But now, all of a sudden, you got to consider guys like a Nick Chubb, guys like a Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers. So there's a lot more options at this point in time. Strategy-wise, it's completely different. A guy like a Tyreek Hill is, I would say, now the number 1 wide receiver, as opposed to before you could say it's Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, someone like a Calvin Ridley, also higher up on the list. But, with these first 5 picks, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, I would say you can't really tell that this is a standard draft. The first 5 picks, all running backs, kind of exactly how, for the most part, a PPR draft would go. Then you see Travis Kelce. Again, this is non-PPR, so I'm not really buying Travis Kelce at that point in time. Ezekiel Elliott, I was really hoping he could fall towards Jonathan Taylor. So now, do we go running back or do we go a wide receiver? Honestly, I'm going to be going running back here, since the receptions don't really mean a damn for the wide receivers. It's tough to justify going with a guy like a Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, when Nick Chubb or Cam Akers is still there. And in this instance, I'm going to go Nick Chubb, and I'm going to follow it up probably with Cam Akers. I think both them maybe a little bit more suited for standard type running backs. Obviously, Nick Chubb definitely is. You've got Kareem Hunt there, but Nick Chubb is the guy that's standard-wise. I mean, he could get 1,500, 1,600 rushing yards by himself, high touchdown upside. So I like that. Very run-heavy team. Wide receivers afterwards. Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, not really all that surprising. Basically the next best players available. Right now, if things continue like this, the players that I'm most heavily going to be considering are Stephon Diggs, Cam Akers, Austin Eckler, and probably Calvin Ridley as well. We've got our RB1 and Nick Chubb in standard formats. Like I said before, I really like the upside there. So we just got to survive 3 more picks. Basically, we're in a good situation where we will for sure 1,000% get one of those players. Yes, Austin Eckler, I absolutely love in PPR scoring. In standard, it's a little bit tougher to get on board, but still, if you believe in the talent, you believe in the talent, and I definitely do, even when you take out the receptions for Austin Eckler. But we'll see if we even have a chance to draft him. Right now, I would probably rank them, Stephon. It's really tough to say. I'm probably Calvin Ridley is my top guy. Cam Akers just goes. So we've got a tough decision to make here, folks. Do we go with our guy in Austin Eckler, or do we go with the Calvin Ridley, who I believe in standard formats is a top 5 wide receiver, hell, maybe even a top 3, top 4 wide receiver? We already did get our running back in Nick Chubb. I'm probably going to go Calvin Ridley here. I really am. And then in the next round, 3rd round, I'd be all right going with a guy like, potentially a Josh Jacobs, a David Montgomery, definitely, I would say, a Chris Carson for sure. So after Calvin Ridley, You see Austin Eckler, pretty much a no-brainer pick. I still love him, you know, as a second round selection. It'd be tougher to sell me on him as a first round selection in standard formats, but either way, I think he's still an RB1 type of guy. But I did want to get my wide receiver in Calvin Ridley to kind of lock down that position. Then you see DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, Najee Harris, Antonio Gibson. So again, honestly, so far, nothing too crazy. I'd say other than probably Austin Eckler dropping to this point in the second round, you can't really tell that this is a standard draft, which, for better or for worse, that's the way it's going. But I'm trying to highlight all of these players and to see if there's anything crazy going on. Najee Harris, at this point, I get it. He's going to get a lot of volume, but I'm still scared about that offensive line. Antonio Gibson, interesting there. Again, but nothing too crazy. If you need a running back at that point in time, absolutely pull the trigger on Gibson. I don't like that Miles Sanders selection one bit. I think there's kind of a running back by committee potentially brewing in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts is going to take away a lot of opportunities, so I'm out on Miles Sanders this season, especially as a second round selection. Justin Jefferson, good value, all things considered. Right now, A.J. Brown, I know he won't make it back to me. Michael Thomas, again, similar to an Austin Eckler, Michael Thomas, not quite as, valuable in standard scoring as he would be in PPR, but he's still someone that I really like. I think he's still a wide receiver one in standard scoring formats, so I would happily take him if he's there. Right now, my dream pick would probably be either Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Chris Carson. I think we probably have a much better chance at landing Chris Carson, because if you look at these running backs, Chris Carson ranked 38th overall, Clyde Edwards-Helaire 29th. DeAndre Swift I would have ranked lower on this list. I think he's very much so much more PPR suited. Definitely pass catching plays a bigger role into his, play style. J.K. Dobbins, I'd still rather have Chris Carson, maybe even a David Montgomery rather than him. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think he's just a very decent, balanced running back. We'll have a just hard decision to make if he's available to us there, along with him and Chris Carson. But the next couple of picks here have been J.K. Dobbins and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. All right, so I guess it won't be that hard of a decision. Somehow A.J. Brown is still on the board. That doesn't make sense to me. Darren Waller now selected. A.J. Brown. Again, with these tight ends in standard formats, especially with a Darren Waller, I probably would be drafting him a little bit later, because, normally you bank on those 100+ receptions. So for that reason, I'm all right waiting a little bit later on tight end and instead getting rock-solid running backs and wide receivers. Also, I believe no quarterback has been drafted at this point in time. And damn it all to hell, Chris Carson gets drafted before we get a chance to make a selection. So both Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Chris Carson off the board. I did not expect this. So right now, what we're going to do is, I mentioned David Montgomery as a running back. I don't necessarily love it, but we did get Nick Chubb. I'm going to go David Montgomery here. He won't be nearly as involved as a pass catcher at the running back position with Tariq Cohen now back, but I think he's still going to get some decent volume. And again, with this being standard scoring, I'm not too worried about the pass catching situation here as much with David Montgomery as I would be in PPR. Now, if you believe the reports that Montgomery is going to get 20 carries a game, that's something that's pretty, encouraging. I'm not necessarily sure if I believe that. And with Matt Nagy getting play calling duties back again, there's reason for skepticism. Ideally, I would have gotten Chris Carson there. I would have felt a lot better about the start to this draft. But that's the way this thing breaks. Let's see if there's any other running backs that have kind of fallen through the cracks here. But I'd say not really. I'd rather go a wide receiver at this point in time. I'd rather go with, just looking at the names, I'd rather go with the Julio Jones. I'd rather go with the Robert Woods. I'd rather go with the Keenan Allen. Yes, Keenan Allen takes a big hit similar to a Michael Thomas because of the receptions, but he's a good value. And of course, as soon as I say that, he gets drafted. After our David Montgomery pick, you see Mike Evans was drafted. You see George Kittle was drafted. Amari Cooper, good value on Amari Cooper, I will say that. Allen Robinson, good value on him. Adam Thielen. So, hey, we're in a pretty good situation here to get Julio Jones. So, I'm not mad about that one bit. I think that, maybe we expect a decrease in receptions with him in Tennessee, but yardage wise, touchdown wise, I like the upside there. So I'm really happy with Julio Jones. A couple of weeks ago, this would be a very Atlanta heavy pass catching duo, Ridley and Julio Jones, but that trade ensures that that's not the case. Kenny Golladay also somewhat intriguing here in standard formats. I'd much rather draft him here than in PPR because, he's never been a big volume guy. Also, same with Tyler Lockett. That's something to keep in mind. Cooper Kupp, really great value. Mark Andrews in standard formats at tight end. I'd much rather take him there. So this is playing out in a pretty interesting, way. I would say this is kind of where we're going to get into a position where standard versus PPR wise, we're going to have to make some tougher decisions because honestly, in the first couple of rounds, first two and a half, 3 rounds, all the options for the most part are really good. So you can't go too wrong with any of them. You see Tyler Lockett here selected someone that we had mentioned. I really didn't think we'd be lucky enough to take him. Patrick Mahomes goes here with the 11th pick in the 4th round. Again, I continue to mention this every time we draft on ESPN. ESPN has their quarterbacks ranked way too low. Maybe this gets adjusted once we get closer to September or August, but for now, just take advantage of that and address that position later on. While in the first 3-4 rounds, you get great talent at running back and wide receiver, maybe even tight end as well. So I'm not even thinking about quarterback at this point in time. I would probably rank my options right now. Cooper Kupp, number 1 at wide receiver. Get him at that nice flex play. Let's see if there's any other wide receivers that I really like at this point in time. Just kind of sort it that way. Deontay Johnson, not a bad option either. And otherwise, I'm not too high on any of these other names. Running back, let's see. I think Mike Davis might still be available. Yes, he is. Chase Edmonds, much more pass catching type of running back, so no thank you there. Mark Andrews, unfortunately, goes. He was someone that I was heavily considering, but hey, a guy that I really like in TJ Hawkinson is still there. So is Dallas Goedert, so is Kyle Pitts. So I'll probably risk it in terms of waiting another round for the tight end position, even though we've got a lot of auto picks and they could snipe us on tight end. So we'll see how that goes. But I do think right now the unquestioned top choice would have been Cooper Kupp. Of course, he's drafted. So, it's a tough break. Deontay Johnson would be my next choice, like I mentioned before. Mike Davis, potentially we could consider him, but also he's someone that gets a lot of value as a pass catcher as well. Let's not forget that. So I don't necessarily think he has the highest rushing upside. And due to that, I'd rather look elsewhere. Right now, the way this thing broke, well, folks, it looks like we're going to be going tight end here. Either TJ Hawkinson or Kyle Pitts. I have them both ranked higher than Dallas Goedert. If you take away the receptions, that's how you have to treat it at this point in time. Which tight end do you think is the biggest upside in terms of touchdowns and yards? I think yards by far is TJ Hawkinson. So I'm going to go with him here. Let's add a tight end to the mix. Wide receiver wise, I didn't love any of my options. Brendan Ayuk, maybe. Juju Smith-Schuster. T. Higgins is actually a guy that I kind of like. I'll probably take it. If he's there, I'll take him in the next round. Get that flex plan there with T. Higgins. And I'll continue to wait on the quarterback position. If T. Higgins gets drafted, then we'll probably go with a Dak or a Lamar Jackson. Running back wise, I still don't necessarily love Kareem Hunt or Mike Davis. Again, they're much more pass-heavy type of running backs. Also, we have Nick Chubb, so tough to roll out both Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, even though Kareem Hunt is serviceable on his own. After TJ Hawkinson, our selection, we saw Kyler Murray, we saw DJ Shark. I really, like I said before, I really would have loved it if Deontay Johnson or Cooper Kupp fell to us. It wasn't meant to be. Just kind of scrolling through some of these value picks, I really like Tyler Lockett towards the end of the 4th round. Robert Woods towards the middle of the 4th round, pretty good value there. Julio Jones, we got at the 4th pick in the 4th round. I love that for us. scrolling down even further, you could argue David Montgomery was a little bit of a reach, but we had to address the running back position. Again, would have loved it if Chris Carson fell to us. Chris Carson with the 5th pick in the 3rd round, great value for whoever got him there. A.J. Brown also great value, 4th pick in the 3rd round. But enough of that. Let's kind of catch up to where this thing has gone to. And Lamar Jackson is drafted, Dak Prescott is drafted, Chase Edmonds is drafted. So what that means is we're going to be waiting on quarterbacks, but that's all right because we can draft T. Higgins here. And I mentioned it previously before. He was going to be our guy at wide receiver if he made it to us. Quarterback, I'm all right waiting on. Mike Davis is still there. I think out of all the remaining running backs, he is the guy that I'd be most interested in. If he falls to us, I'd be pretty happy about that. I do think there's a little bit of a drop-off at our running back position after Nick Chubb, but I do believe that we've made very good selections in terms of pass catchers: Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, TJ Hawkinson, T. Higgins. So I really like the upside there. And it was just kind of a situation where that's the way it broke. I guess going back to the 2nd round, and if we hadn't gone with Calvin Ridley, who could we have gone with instead at running back? Could have gone with a Antonio Gibson. Could have gone with a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a Chris Carson, but I do think Calvin Ridley at that point in time made more sense. Also, we could have obviously gone with an Austin Eckler. It was pretty much between those two guys, and I decided to go with Calvin Ridley, who I think in standard scoring has a better chance to finish as the wide receiver 1 than Austin Eckler does to finish as the RB1. Again, saying that specifically in standard formats. Now, here you see after our selection of T. Higgins, Kyle Pitts goes, so maybe we could have waited a round later for TJ Hawkinson. If we hadn't taken TJ Hawkinson where we did, again, let's look at our pick history. Who could we have taken? We could have taken a quarterback. And honestly, that's kind of it. Because even though I will say I don't think we're going to get lucky enough where with the 81st pick overall, we would have had TJ Hawkinson available to us and Kyler Murray and Dallas Goedert. So I'm happy that I got one of my guys there. So Mike Davis is also drafted now with the 1st pick in the 7th round. Good value there, all things considered. Yes, he's going to be a big pass-catching type of guy, but still, he's the starting running back for the Atlanta Falcons. So that's very valuable. Let's not sleep on that. Juju Smith-Schuster just gets drafted. Dallas Goedert's still there. Do I want to go with double tight end situation? That's kind of tempting. Let's look at our quarterbacks here. I think at this point in time, we could consider someone like a Jalen Hurts, maybe. I think he's got some really nice upside because of the rushing ability. I also really like Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow. What I'm going to do here, I will get, let's quickly look at the other positions to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Let's quickly, consider that. Dallas Goedert really is tempting. I might do that, probably do that, and then take a chance on the quarterback position afterwards. I don't think we're going to see a crazy run on quarterbacks right now. If we do, oh well. I think Dallas Goedert was just a very good value pick at that point in time, Running back-wise, we could have gone Melvin Gordon, I guess, but I don't like the running back by committee situation there. James Robinson, kind of tempting. Damian Harris, Ronald Jones, tempting as well. Damian Harris, if Cam Newton isn't starting for the New England Patriots, he gets a nice little boost, I will say, because of just the more rushing touchdown opportunities, in my opinion. Now, again, if this plays out the way we're hoping, we get Jalen Hurts here. And honestly, we've kind of filled out this roster. Nick Chubb, Montgomery, we don't have too much running back depth. That's what I would say is our biggest flaw at this point in time. So I can't give us too high of a grade because of that. But again, I think the other positions we've done very well with. And here, Jalen Hurts does make it to us. So I'm pretty happy about that. Let's just draft him here. A high upside quarterback. Running back wise, I definitely was considering either James Robinson or Ronald Jones. Also, Damian Harris, who went a couple picks before us. You saw Tom Brady get drafted a little bit after our Jalen Hurts selection, so maybe there will be a run on quarterbacks here. I'm going to make 2 more selections and then wrap this thing up. But right now, Wide receiver wise, I love what we have going on. Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones and T. Higgins. And tight end wise, awesome depth. TJ Hawkinson and Dallas Goedert. And we've got the stack actually with Jalen Hurts and Dallas Goedert. If we wanted to flex Goddard in, we've got a lot of options there. So I like that. And this is kind of playing out pretty well for us. We're seeing a run on quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Ryan Tannehill, run on tight end with Robert Tonyan. We'll see, if there's some other tight ends drafted. But the perfect scenario for me here would be to go with James Robinson with my next pick, and then maybe even Ronald Jones afterwards. So back-to-back running backs. If I can't make that happen, then I'm going to draft Antonio Brown, who I really, really like, and I pretty much do in all drafts at this point in time. To me, he's on the same level as Mike Evans, Godwin. So in standard formats, I'd have Mike Evans the highest, then Antonio Brown, then Godwin. So, I think that's pretty intriguing. And I doubt Antonio Brown is going to make it to us. There's a lot of auto picks, and honestly, he should be ranked a lot higher than this. But again, just take advantage of this value while you can. So right now, probably going to go Antonio Brown here just because I think he's the best value out of all the players that we've mentioned, including those running backs. If he is drafted, then it's going to make our life really easy. We just go the two running backs, Ronald Jones, and I already forget who the other option was. Ronald Jones and then James Robinson. So we've got our quarterback in Jalen Hurts. I feel pretty good about the way we are rounding this thing out. My only, I guess, regret, if you will, is I wish we got Chris Carson instead of David Montgomery. I would feel really, really much better about this team, as far as to say that I would give it an entire letter grade higher. So right now, I'd probably give this a B- grade. If we had gotten Chris Carson, I'd go as far as a B+, but I'm trying to be a little bit conservative on the grade. And James Robinson is drafted, so is Henry Ruggs. There's going to be a lot of auto picks here. So again, I don't think we will get Antonio Brown. Probably, but no real regrets here. I'm happy where we got Jalen Hurts. I'm happy where we got Higgins and Dallas Goedert as well. So there goes Antonio Brown, only a pick before us. But hey, that's all right. We can go with Ronald Jones here, a guy that's definitely standard scoring suited. So that pretty much kind of wraps up this entire thing. I can also add a quarterback for some insurance to Jalen Hurts. That's probably what I'll do here and queue up Matthew Stafford. I like that a lot. I'm looking at any just other great values. Nothing right now really comes to mind. So overall, I'm going to give this thing a B- grade. But hey, let me know your thoughts along with any other questions you guys might have in the comment section. And if you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. Check us out online at alldaypigskin.com. Get yourself a copy of the 2021 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. And in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.